Given that you were a child when your dad was living with dementia, looking back, what did you actually need from adults around you in those moments?
I think it was the freedom to handle my grief and the experience on my own, having the freedom to ask for help when I needed it or extra support, or the freedom to saying, no, I don't want to go visit my dad in the extra care living facility today, and not being forced into those situations and welcoming it as I was more comfortable. And when I wasn't comfortable, to go see my dad um, or have him out in public with me, being able to kind of avoid those situations.
Did you think that it would change day by day and then it would be a reflective approach? So, hey, Spencer, what do you think about this thing today? Do you think that's the right approach then?
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. Growing up, I, especially out in public, wasn't sure how my dad would react because, he looked normal, but his behaviors and actions weren't normal. So as a child, I found it quite embarrassing. So if it was like an event where there's going to be more people or friends my age, because it's hard to explain as a young child what's going on with your dad. And so I didn't want him at those events, and being able to kind of have my mom recognize that, and doing the best she can to accommodate my needs, but also my sibling needs. If, say, my sister wanted my dad at an event, but I didn't, maybe having my dad there for part of the event and things like that.
Did you understand what was he was going through?
To an extent, I think for a while, I didn't know what was going on. I remember at night, I'd be sitting in the banister, and hearing my parents fight and argue in the kitchen because my dad, wasn't characteristic of himself, and who my mom married, and um, wasn't an attentive father because of the disease. So at first I thought my parents were going to get divorced. And then I remember finding out my dad had dementia and he was sick, and my parents aren't getting divorced. But I don't think I fully comprehended, what that meant. And I remember, telling people my dad had dementia, and people were like, oh, my grandma has that, or my grandpa has that. And just wasn't the same. And so a lot of times I avoided even, talking about my dad's dementia or bringing it up.
You mentioned that from when he got married to when you were witnessing them, fighting in the kitchen. What can you tell me, I guess, what he was like before the dementia kicked in?
Yeah, he was very loving, caring, funny. My whole life has been entangled with him having FTD because he was misdiagnosed in 1999 with early onset Alzheimer's, and I was born in 1998. Don't think I ever really got to know who my father was, but from the stories that, I hear of my mom and aunts and uncles and people tell of my daddy, he was very handy, help out a neighbor help build a deck, or he built a dock for my mom's family's cottage. He was, very caring and supportive father for my two older brothers, and very attentive in their life. So yeah, a lot of that changed with frontotemporal dementia.
So you never knew anything different other than this trajectory of a changing behavior that was kind of evolving as the time was going on with your dad then, right?
Yeah, it was like essentially as I was getting older and maturing, my dad was getting younger emotionally. It felt like.
Were there any moments where it kind of clicked for you that your dad was going through something? You may not necessarily have understood what dementia was, but you knew that something was different in your experience than what your neighbor or your teammate or something was going through.
Yeah, I definitely knew something was wrong and that my dad wasn't a normal dad because of FTD. And watching him progress and become less talkative and less mobile and less being able to do things. And as my friends were, playing catch with their dad in the front yard. And yeah, I had that for a brief moment. I remember, throwing the baseball with my dad in the yard, and like early on when he still had the disease, but as he progressed, that became the father-son activities were less frequent.
Were the symptoms exclusively behavioral ones, or were there any other symptoms?
Yeah, it started off mainly behavioral. Big one was loss of empathy. Like I remember, busted my chin open riding my bike outside and came inside crying, and blood all over, my face and my shirt. My dad just sat on his computer playing solitaire, didn't take me to the hospital or get checked out, just sat me. I remember ripping off my shirt um and just like sitting me on the couch, and my mom came home and took me to the hospital. He was just sitting on the computer playing solitaire.